The Ojibwe Indians live mainly in Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, North Dakota, and Ontario. We'll go into more of their location later in the video. They speak a form of Algonquin language and were closely related to the Ottawa and Potawatomi Indians. These Indians were allies of the French and French traders and often married, and the French traders often married the Ojibwe women. Their warriors fought with the French against the British in the French and Indian War, but political alliances changed with the times. During the American Revolution, the Ojibwe sided with the British against the Americans. The Ojibwe is said to mean puckered moccasin people, and they're also known as the Chippewa. And they became a tribe in the 1600s. They were primarily hunters and fishermen, as the climate of the UP was too cold for farming. A few bands of Ojibwe lived in southern Michigan, where they subsisted principally by hunting, though all had summer residences where they raised corn, potatoes, turnips, beans, and sometimes squashes, pumpkins, and melons. As mentioned before, the tribe was organized into independent migratory bands. The Ojibwe were ideally suited for fur trade with the French. They moved according to seasonal subsistence economy, fishing in the summer, harvesting wild rice in the fall, hunting, trapping, and ice fishing in the winter, and tapping maple syrup and spearfishing in the spring. Their main building material, wigwams or birch bark, could be transported anywhere to make a wigwam, which was their lodge shelter. Social organization was somewhat egalitarian, and women played a strong economic role. So this could be a type of matriarchal society. In the 1400s, the first Ojibwe were located on the east side of Lake Huron. In the 1500s, the Ojibwe moved west to Lake Superior and Wisconsin's Apostle Islands. Due to war and fur trade, the Ojibwe dispersed to the east, south, and west. Now they are currently located in several areas such as Ontario, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Alberta in Canada, and Michigan, Minnesota, Montana, North Dakota, and Wisconsin in the United States. They have 130 nations in Canada and 22 federally recognized groups in the U.S. Made up of numerous independent bands, the Ojibwe were so spread out that few early French estimates of them were even close. 35,000 have been suggested, but there are probably 2 to 3 times as many in 1600. The British said there are about 25 to 30,000 Ojibwe in 1764, but the Americans in 1843 listed 30,000 in just the United States. Currently, there are 130,000 Ojibwe in the United States and 60,000 in Canada. The 190,000 population makes them the biggest tribe north of Mexico. They speak Algonquin. Not only does this tribe have a distinct number system, which you will learn about in the latter part of the video, but they also have a full written language. The Ojibwe were the largest and most powerful Great Lakes tribe, perhaps the most powerful east of the Mississippi, and quite possibly the most powerful in North America. They were hunter-gatherers who harvested wild rice and maple sugar. Woodland Ojibwe had no salt to preserve food and generally mixed everything with maple syrup as seasoning. They were skilled hunters and trappers. Summer clothing was buckskin with fur, outer garments added for winter. The men wore breechcloths, but both sexes wore leggings. Moccasins were the distinctive puff seam style that gave the Ojibwe their name. These were often colored with red, yellow, blue, and green dyes made by women. Long, cold winters were spent confined inside their wigwams, also allowed time to add intricate quill and moose hair designs. The Ojibwe often passed these times and entertained each other with stories and art for which they are still renowned. Ojibwe spirituality centers around certain customs and beliefs, concepts, events, and objects. These include the sweat lodge pipe, drums, singing, the naming ceremony, prayer, vision questing, and guardian spirits. The powwow, the medicine man or woman, or shamans, medicine bags, dream articles, and traditional stories regarding the Great Spirit, creation, original man, the flood, etc. Ritual and spiritual objects include sage, sweetgrass, tobacco, and cedar. Dogs were akin to the sacrificial lambs of early Christianity. There are 4 seasons and 4 grandfathers, or 4 powers of the universe, that sit at the 4 cardinal directions of north, south, east, and west. The symbolic 4 colors of man are red, yellow, black, and white. The Ojibwe language is spoken in southern portions of Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Ontario, and the northern areas of Minnesota, Michigan, and Wisconsin. It is a larger language group called the Algonquian language family. The 4 main parts of the Ojibwe people are the Northern Ojibwe in central Canada, the Southeast Ojibwe in Ontario and northern Ohio, and the Chippewa in Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Michigan. And lastly, the Plains Ojibwe in Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and North Dakota. The language family originally extended northeast of a line from North Carolina to the Great Lakes, excluding upstate New York and southern Ontario and the Ohio Valley. But now it extends from the Maritime provinces in Canada to Alberta, including Michigan and the western Great Lakes area, and scattered settlements in several states of the northern United States and northern Mexico. These languages include Micmac, Maliseet, Etcham, Penobscot, Kaniba, and many, many others. The Ojibwe have a number system set on a base 10. Digits from 0 to 9 are specific words. The tens are based on the root of the digit names except for the number 10. The hundreds are built the same way, based on the root of the digit names with the exception of 100. Each group of numbers is joined by sha, which means and, which not only the tens and units, but also hundreds and tens, thousands and hundreds, and so on. For an example, the number 45, or 4 and 5, would be written as follows. Notice how the word sha, or that translates to and, connects the Ojibwe numbers of 4 and 5 to make 45. It's very simple, and all numbers are like this when they combine 2 numbers. The Ojibwe were one of the few early groups that came up with the concept of zero. They needed a numerical value to measure the absence of something. Like when they were measuring beads for clothes or harvesting their food, eventually the values of these things diminished to the point of 0, where they have nothing left. And this tribe made a number for that. Unfortunately, this tribe does not have a set of symbols for their numbers, so it is just a word just like the rest of the numbers. Overall, I feel the Ojibwe were far ahead of their time and made an impact on early America. This large group of people that occupy northern United States and Canada still to this day outlasted war and oppression and still remain one of the top tribes in North America. They formed their own language and number system. They used words instead of symbols for these systems. They were very artistic, and their cultural pieces are still renowned today.